Hello everyone, this is part 35 of What If Naruto Had a Hug That Changed Everything, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. What the hell is wrong with you? The angry blonde shouted. The tremor of Naruto's voice was actually frightening. He was actually mad at her. She could already feel his scorn and she cringed at it. I just wanted to. No, I don't want to hear it, he yelled again as he shot to his feet. Naturally, the bulge in his pants were gone. Why would you do something like that? We're supposed to be friends, he shouted. Ino was becoming increasingly more desperate as she realized more and more that she had just made a terrible mistake. But, we are friends, Naruto-kun, she protested. I just wanted to make you. I don't know, feel good, she stammered. Wrong answer. Feel good. Feel good. This is an outrage. You knew that I love Sakura-chan and yet you try to pull something on me. What did you want me to do, betray her? Ino shot to her hands and knees. No. Please, just hear me out. It's not that I wanted you to betray her, I just don't know, okay. I guess I wanted to see what it was like, she uneasily explained with tears building up in the rim of her eyes against her will. What it was like? Naruto practically spat. Hi. When I told you I've been thinking, I meant it, Naruto-kun. I just wanted to feel what it would be like to be with someone. I mean actually be with someone. Especially someone as wonderful as you, Ino whispered to suppress any sobs that might have escaped her breath, knowing full damn well that she was taking a huge risk. The silence that Naruto expelled was only making the blonde female more and more nerve-wracked. All he did was stare at her with empty eyes, an expression that Ino has grown to be wary of and really didn't particularly like it. Naru, no, I'm done here, he interjected. Ino's tears finally broke through her wool and fell down her face. What do you mean? She reluctantly asked, fearing the answer she might have gotten. I can't look at you right now. I have to go, Naruto said, not so much in an angry voice, but a saddened one. But Naruto-kun, Later that night at Konoha Hospital. In the quiet space of room 14B, Yoshana Hurricane was resting her body in bed. The blue-haired female was making an astonishing recovery according to the doctors who examined her. She didn't even need to take any blood pill any longer, for her own fluids were regenerating all on their own, which further shocked the hospital employees. Even her complexion had returned to its former radiance and beauty, but even so, she was instructed to stay in bed and limit her movement just to be safe. Not that Yoshana was complaining, especially after having nearly all of her blood drained from her body. She could still remember the real face of the devil who did that to her, but for now, she would have to kill him in her dreams because she needed her rest. Or at least, that's what the doctors deduced. Slowly waking to the land of the living again, the brown-eyed woman took in her surroundings as she adjusted her eyes. She observed the several doctors and nurses catering to her needs. In time, she felt as though she had enough strength to sit up again, a luxury that she thought she'd lack for a much longer time. She was generally relieved that she would be able to move again and even more relieved that she was healing at an alarming rate. Deciding to finally move, Yoshana rose to her elbows with a bit of a strained effort, causing the silk covers to brush off of her torso. When one of the nurses saw this, she was immediately at Yoshana's side. Hurricane-san, you mustn't strain yourself at this point. Just lie down and rest, dear, she tried to suggest. The tan store owner looked up at the caring nurse and smiled a little sheepishly. Oh, thank you, nurse. Thank you all, but I feel much better now. Really I do. I think all I needed was a few hours of rest, she said sincerely. Usually a retort like that would throw any one of those doctors out if nurses into a state of insistence and demand that the patient not push themselves, but given the strange circumstances, they were almost considering that. However, they all knew the job, and while no longer being overly cautious about Yoshana's condition, they were not fully prepared to let her leave until absolutely certain she able to, and to do that they needed to examine her after another day of rest. They were done for now. We can all tell that you're feeling a lot better, Hurricane-san. Hell, You even look and sound better, but the point is clear and vivid. You're not going anywhere until you've had your rest, young lady, the nurse insisted. If this had been any other time before she was attacked, Yoshana would have definitely thrown up a defiant front about being told what she could and could not do. Unfortunately for her, that particular strength was still drained at the moment. And if she could even argue back with the nurses, then she knew that they were right about her staying in bed as much as she wanted to argue. With a weak huff, Yoshana collapsed back upon her bed and frowned a little. But then she remembered to check the clock and was almost immediately cheered up when she saw what time it was. Oh, Naruto-kun will be here soon, she thought to herself with a gracious smile on her face. Teehee. I can't wait to see the look on his face when he sees how much I've recovered in only 2 days. At that, Yoshana lied in bed and awaited his arrival. Lately, he was very consistent about visiting her. It stood to reason after all. He'd always pay his respects and wish her the best and a quick recovery. Hell, that might have been the trigger of her sudden cure, but she didn't dwell on that fact for long. She was just happy that she was able to blink without zapping any of her energy. After about 10 minutes of staring at the clock, Yoshana heard the door to her room open. Odd. He's a little earlier than expected, she thought as she watched the door intently. When the door opened, the figure was exactly who Yoshana thought it would be and she smiled at his early presence. You're early, Naru. Hey, what's wrong? The blue-haired female asked with concern. Naruto had large dark marks under his eyes with his shoulders slumped and his eyelids heavy. He entered the room while dragging his feet and staring at the ground. When Yoshana saw this, she was mildly surprised as well as very let down, mostly because whenever Naruto arrived there, he always greeted her with a youthful smile and a brightening spirit. Now, however, it looked as though he just read the weekly morgue and took the poor souls that lost their lives to heart. Naruto-kun, what's wrong? She asked before lifting herself to her elbows. You look drained. At first, the blonde Jinchuriki seemed as though he didn't even hear the woman, but when she called his name again, he slowly snapped his attention to her and immediately plastered the fake smile that he threw on out of impulse whenever he was greeted with anyone. However, he had briefly forgotten exactly who he was dealing with. Yoshana could always see through these smiles. After only a few seconds of silence, Naruto broke his mask and allowed his emotions to show in front of his dear friend. Yoshana-san. I just don't know what. Whoa, just take it easy and tell me what happened, Yoshana said, immediately trying to keep Naruto from getting any more depressed. The black-clad boy sat down upon the chair next to the beautiful store owner and slumped into it. 2 words. Ino Yamanaka, he said with tired sadness. Yoshana raised a curious eyebrow at this. Ino. You mean that blonde chick with the mind transfer abilities? She asked. The very same, Naruto answered, slightly grimacing at the name, Yoshana-san. Have you ever felt as though you had to choose between 2 people? The blue-haired woman's face immediately sagged. Ooh no, she sighed. I can't believe what she was about to do to me, Naruto trailed off. Why couldn't I see it coming? Naruto-kun, you never told me what happened. Did Ino try to make a move on you or something? Yoshana questioned. Naruto fell silent and harbored a blank face. Do you have a book that tells you everything that happens in my life, or are you doing that freaky mind-reading thing again? He said. The brown-eyed female smiled a little at hearing that natural sarcasm that wasn't always shown to others, but then focused on the matter at hand. Well, it couldn't have been that bad. I mean, it's not like she was trying to get in your pants or anything, right? Naruto didn't respond. Right. Seriously. Stop it, he said flatly. Stop what? Stop reading my thoughts. At this bit of news, Yoshana gasped, Naruto-kun. She didn't, she nearly yelled. She did, he responded while running a hand through his shaggy blonde hair. How could she? She knows how much I love Sakura-chan. So why? And Naruto-kun, has this girl always liked you that way? Hell no. But that's not the point. She nearly made me do something that I would regret for the rest of my life. But the worst part about is Yoshana irked on. That I liked it. Naruto-kun. The blonde shinobi buried his face into his hands and sighed loudly. I know, okay. I was so angry with her, but at the same time what should I do, Yoshana-san? I'm so confused, he admitted. When Naruto didn't even hear a response from his longtime friend, he turned his sight to her only to see a worried expression on her face. What? Okay, listen to me and listen carefully. Believe me when I say that no good can possibly come from this, she said sternly. Naruto gave his bright, WTF, facial expression. What? What do you mean? He asked her. Okay. Yoshana knew that Naruto could be slow at times, but not wising up to this sort of thing in particular was just asking for disaster. What do you mean? What do I mean? You have to find Ino and fix this, now, she demanded. Yoshana-san, you're acting like the apocalypse is going to happen if I don't. Out of. Kit, she has a point. I suggest that you get this cleared up, now. Where the hell have you been? Sleeping. But that's far from the point. I sense something coming, something horrible. Okay. Both you and Yoshana-san are starting to freak me out. What the hell are you? Out of. Naruto-kun. Did you hear me? Get out of here before you're doomed. But, out of. She's right, Kit. If you waste any more time then you may as well kiss your ass goodbye. Now wait just a seco. Out of. Do you want to go now, or you'll never live long enough to see another sunrise? Out of. What are you waiting for, you idiot? I, for one, would actually like to live to see another day. Go. Out of. One at a time, Naruto finally yelled, waving his arms in the air. Jeez. It's bad enough that I have to listen to Foxo over here, but don't gang up on me like that. Sheesh. Since Yoshana knew exactly what the blonde boy meant, Shush took a deep breath to center herself. Naruto-kun, from what I can remember you telling me, Sakura-san and yourself have finally hooked up, right? The blue-haired store owner said, gaining a nod from her favorite blonde. Well then why don't you just give a quick thought about what would happen if she ever found out about this before you patched things up with Ino? Doing just that, Naruto searched the corridors of his mind and dug around for the logical answers and possibilities. After 20 seconds of pondering, Naruto's facial expression went completely vivid with terror. Sweet flippin' F. I gotta go, he yelled before storming out the door of the room in a flash, leaving a thinning trail of dust in his wake. When Naruto ran out of the room, Yoshana let out a soothing sigh. I really hope he'll be okay. I can tell that this whole love thing is starting to get to him. Except now, he has two ladies to contend with. Poor boy, she mourned. Well, maybe he'll be able to pick the sweetest fruits from this bush, a shaky and worn voice sounded from out of seemingly nowhere. Yoshana's head immediately whipped to her side and peered at the window. At first she didn't even recognize the voice, but then. What's wrong, child? Don't ya recognize your old man's voice? It sounded again. It only took that last sentence to immediately throw Yoshana into a state of remembrance. What the? Ji-san. Ji-san, is that really you? She asked, sounding a bit desperate. From out of the open window crawled a short, wrinkly, bald, hunchback and bared old man carrying a small gray sack over his shoulder with one and a weird wooden cane on with the other. Seeing this person sent trembles of joy and denial through Yoshana's body. Ji-san, she said with tears starting to flood the rims of her eyes. Oh, Ji-san. The shaky old man slowly made his way to the brown-eyed female using his cane for leverage. Woo. Lemme tell ya something, child. Climbing up them walls just ain't as fun, you young'uns be mackin' it look, the old man said while caressing his sore lower back. Think I got a hernia doing the des. At that moment, something within Yoshana snapped. She knew that doing it could cause problems for both her health and the doctors who were taking care of her, but at this point she was far too dazed and amazed to give a flying hell. So she sped herself out of her hospital bed, ran to the shaky old man, thus falling to her knees and colliding unto him, clutching her arms around him like she gonna s. Several joyful sobs escaped her lungs and she tightened her embrace. Ji-san, she cried before pulling away with her hands still latched upon his shoulders. Where have you been, Ji-san? Tenten, Yosu and I have almost given up all matter of hope that you'd ever come back to us. Well damn, child, I might have been away for too damn long. You know not to call that, the old man said whilst readjusting himself. Yoshana allowed one last tear to fall from her eye as she threw on a gracious smile. Oh right. Sorry GG, she enthoused. Smiling back at her, Gigi slowly turned around and looked out the window as Yoshana stayed where she was. So child, how's he been while Gigi was away? From what I can tell, he's become a smooth operator with the lass, Gigi said with a smile. Flashback interruption out of. Otafuku guy. Naruto was sitting upon one of the beds at a hotel inn, molding his chakra, an instruction given to him by his slack jock of a teacher. Holding the Hitsu hand seal while sitting cross-legged upon the bed, Naruto scowled to himself while muttering about his troubles. The nerve of that pervy son of A.B. telling me that he had something to tell me about this technique and then abandoning me at this stupid inn just so he can flirt around with some bimbo. What the F, man? What the F, he muttered. In all honesty, Naruto was starting to wonder why he was still giving Jiraiya chances. All that he managed to do was stall his training and insult him. Oh, and we can't forget about sping him off of his money on more than one occasion. On the other hand, there were the occasions, few and far in between, where he did do him some mondo favors. One being the completion of his water walking training. When Naruto was under the brief tutelage of the closet L known as Ebisu, he hardly got anywhere, but when Jiraiya came into the picture it was the exact opposite of that ordeal. He aced it. In fact, thinking more on it, even how Jiraiya was predominantly passing himself off as a bum, he was actually incredibly beneficial. Naruto knew that if he'd not been given the time to actually sit down and relax for at least 5 minutes, he'd never be able to even consider all of this, but now that he has, he started to see the fruits of the elder sage's training. As stubborn as he is, even Naruto couldn't deny that his training with Jiraiya had saved his ass won a few altercations. Hell, if it wasn't for him, Naruto would have definitely struggled more in the fight against Neji. If it wasn't for him, Naruto would never have even considered fronting against Gaara so adamantly. If it wasn't for him, Naruto would have never acquired his new strength and senses to begin with, nor would he have found a certain kind of kindred spirit in Kyuubi no Yuko, let alone summon the beast. His mind would have never been so open and clear. Reflecting on all that had happened with him and Jiraiya over the past month, Naruto began to realize that he hadn't cut the Sannin enough slack. In reality, he has already given him what he needed to become stronger than he was before, and because of it, he could now push his limits even further. Top that all off with the fact that Jiraiya promised him a new technique. At first, Naruto was still doubtful that he'd get any results from this promise, but realizing how much of a procrastinator he is, the blonde boy simply smiled with confidence. Maybe I've been selling the old LA bit short as of late, Naruto thought to himself while smiling. I guess I should really be grateful to him. After all, he is going out of his way just to make sure I can even amount to anything. Deciding that he can be a little more than a pest to Jiraiya starting now, Naruto put a deep and sincere focus into his training, unwittingly molding his chakra a little more than intended, thus solidifying his current energy levels. Keeping his eyes closed and his hands together, Hitsu, Naruto kept his smile on for only a brief moment more before uttering 3 words that he was confident he would never even imagine he would say. Thanks, Ero Sennin. Meanwhile, within one of the many entertainment venues of the crowded Otafuku guy, Jiraiya and his new playmate Emi, the hot brunette chick that he ran off with in the series, were strolling down the roads of the venue looking for other places to go and have some fun. Though the white-haired Sannin was having a seemingly great time, Emi seemed a little winded, a perfect opportunity for Jiraiya to make his move. Oi, Emi-chan. Why don't we sit down for a little while and catch our breaths, huh? Jiraiya suggested. Nodding silently, the beautiful female pointed to a nearby bench and walked over to it while latched onto Jiraiya's arm. Once they were seated, the aged toad hermit wasted absolutely no time. He turned to face his female company. Well, Emi-chan, it looks like we'll have to cut our fun a little short, he said before snapping his fingers in front of her face. Nani, what do you mean? What do, yo, you mean? She stammered before her hot and feeble body went numb and motionless before she collapsed upon Jiraiya's shoulder and snored peacefully. The Sannin smiled to himself. Well, now that that's taken care of, I can. He stopped himself in mid-thought. Without warning of any shape or form, another figure accompanied Jiraiya and the sleeping Emi, resting his hooded head upon one of his hands while sitting down as well. Well, and well. I would have never imagined you of all creatures on this planet to be one to collect the hot ones. Jiraiya-kun, the hooded man gurgled. Inwardly, Jiraiya nearly jumped out of his skin, but outwardly, he kept his vision straight ahead and plastered an intense sneer of sheer focus and anticipation. I certainly hoped that you weren't planning on doing anything inappropriate to that eager young lady while she was sleeping now, he taunted. Jiraiya threw on a confident smirk and kept the rest of his body frozen solid still. Well, what do we have here? Never thought I'd see you again. But of course, neither did anyone else. You certainly got a saggy pair if you're showing yourself in public like this. What brings you here as if I didn't know, he said. The man smiled beneath his hood. What? A guy can't spend a little of his time at the pleasure center and f some hot broad into the mattress for cheap without getting interrogated anymore. And I thought I was old and cantankerous, Jiraiya-kun, he remarked. Well, it's not as though I saw you just yesterday, ya know. I gotta check up on my buddy every once in a while now, don't I? Especially after the light show you put on for everyone a couple of days ago, Jiraiya continued with his ever-present fake smile. Ah, so you were able to see it. I'm so relieved. But on to more pressing matters, old friend. It has come to my attention that you're seeking our dear friend Tsunade-chan. For what? I don't know and I don't care, the man gurgled. The middle-aged sage's smile dissipated a little bit. Why, whatever could have given you that crazy idea, he said. I have my sources. Speaking of which, I suppose it'd be a better time than any to tell you to that you're wasting much of your precious time. For as we speak, Minato's spitting image is on the verge of falling into the clutches of darkness. But that's just one voice's opinion, of course. I mean, it's not as though I have anything to do with it. That would be just plain crazy. The man suspiciously chuckled. At this, Jiraiya's smile completely vanished and the hooded man rose to his feet. Jiraiya-kun, I have a favor to ask. Quite simple really, he said. The white-haired Sannin rose to his feet as well and held the unconscious EMI over his shoulder. The hooded man turned around to walk in another direction but instead stood where he was. I need you to give this message to Tsunade-chan. When you do find her, tell her to be prepared and to watch her back. Tell her that I'm finally ready to settle the score with you three once and for all, he silently commanded before walking off into the distance. Jiraiya's vision remained locked in front of him, unable to bring himself to even look at the man of whom he had just conversed with, and for obvious reasons to boot. With EMI still in hand, the aged toad sage vanished from sight after uttering one final thought. Favor accepted. Kuro. Naruto was taking his meditation to heart as he continued to mold and solidify his chakra, also clearing and focusing his mind now that he was able to sort things out. With his eyes remaining closed, Naruto had no knowledge of the world around him as the very darkness felt surreal and fitting, not to mention comforting. He could feel his meditation drawing to a close, however, as his instincts told him that his time was almost up. However, knock, knock, knock. The blonde genin was immediately snapped out of his meditative state by a loud knock at the door. Even though he wasn't able to get more time in, Naruto was glad that he was able to get as much of it in as he could. So he smiled, jumped out of the bed. As he walked to the door, it was knock on again. Hang on a sec, I'm comin', Naruto said nonchalantly. Once the blue-eyed blonde reached the door and went to grab the knob, however, he froze right where he was with a scowl embedding his face. There he remained for about 5 more seconds before making a snap-quick decision. He opened the door. The person he saw in front of him, however, wiped the scowl right off of his face. The aura that he felt just seconds before wasn't there anymore, and the only thing that he could see out of place with this picture was the fact that he didn't recognize this person at all. Instead, his face was smothered with a bewildered facial expression as he peered into bottomless black irises. Wow, what a beautiful woman. The slender and fit woman in front of him stood taller than he did. Her hair was a majestic oceanic blue, silked and smoothed down to her upper back. Her face was round and bright with a tanned appearance to her skin. Her eyes her average-sized yet intensely seductive. The attire she wore consisted of a zipped red trench coat that was tight to the fit and SD up in a stylish way, leaving her entire right leg and left arm stiesped bare. The upper left part of her coat was over SD, however, showing a little much of her left B, both of which were simply busting out, not literally, but you know what I mean, smiley face. Her feet were accompanied by black knee-high sandals. The developed beauty smiled at Naruto and the fact that she was finally able to see him up close and personal. Ah, Naruto Uzumaki, we meet at last, she hissed. Her voice sent a cold chill throughout the blonde boy's body and he fought the reflex to shiver. Who are you, was all he could say. My, where are my manners? My name is Kitsune Amasu. Pleased to meet you Naruto-chan, she cooed without breaking eye contact. Naruto blushed a little and looked away. Easy does it, Naruto. She's incredibly hot but she's not as hot as Sakura-chan. Yeah. Nowhere near her. Nope. Not in the slightest. I mean it's certainly not like her tan skin and her toned body and her deep eyes have anything to with. Holy s. Out of. Balls to the wall, Kit. You remember what last time, right? Shut it, Fox. I already know. Out of. Well, Naruto-chan. As much as I enjoy the attention my BS get from peering eyes, I think I'd better get to the reason I'm here, Kitsune said. Hearing what she had just said, Naruto's blush darkened before he whipped his eyesight away from her supple BS and down to the ground. But then, something hit him and he relinquished eye contact. Wait a second, how do you know my name? He asked suddenly. And that's where I come in, a smooth and manly voice sounded out. With that, a steady stream of footsteps came into play, followed by quite an intimidating sight. Making his appearance behind Kitsune's right side was a very tall man. This man had very short and spiky white hair, wild and untamed. His eyes were nothing like Kitsune's, they were totally black. No irises, no pupils. But they did possess a freaky horizontal line on each of them, and no I'm not trying to off baby for DBGT. His trench coat was similar in color scheme to Kitsune's but the style was very different. His coat was totally unzipped revealing a rock-hard and almost brutish upper body build, accompanied by a huge X scar upon his chest. His right shoulder was accompanied by a metal protection plate and a black belt hugged around his waist. His pants were pure black and incredibly loose without sagging at all. Upon his back were two enormous circular S-cycles that gave him an even more menacing look to him. He stood at least 1.5 feet taller than Kitsune. Is this little punk giving you a hard time Kitsune? He asked with crack to his knuckles. The blue-haired seductress huffed, Nekoshi. Why do you have to be so impatient? I told you to wait, the black-eyed female scolded. Nekoshi looked over his comrade's shoulder and glared at the scrawny, by comparison, Genin. So, this is the little punk that sensei's grown interested in. Humph. I thought he'd grow a lot bigger when we saw him as an infant. Little SS already starting to annoy the F out of me, Nekoshi said with spite. Kitsune crossed her arms. Easy Nekoshi. Now, Naruto-chan, I'm gonna have to ask you to come with us. Our sensei is looking forward to finally meeting you after 12 years, she said with a smirk. Naruto suddenly became uneasy and took a step back. Now hold on a second. How do you know me? And who is this sensei guy you keep yapping about? He questioned with his increasing uneasiness. At this, Nekoshi let out a growl. Kid, I suggest you just step out here for a second. Then we can talk, he said trying to suppress his irritation. For some reason, Naruto frowned at this. Unless he was totally non-observant he would have considered this as a challenge. Without really thinking, the blonde shinobi stepped outside and passed his two visitors. He turned to face them both and gasped when he saw their glowing red eyes. Now, to answer your question, you'll meet our sensei in due time my little friend. All in due time, Kitsune cooed all friend-like, but for now, just be a good little boy and come quietly. Otherwise. Naruto kept his scowl and silently gulped. Otherwise, he urged. Nekoshi stepped in from behind Kitsune and in front of Naruto with his eyes still glowing red. Otherwise I'm gonna have to bodily maim you and watch you choke on your blood. Then we'll take you with us, he said before withdrawing one of his circle cycles in a flash, great speed and hook it around the back of Naruto's en. So, which is it gonna be? The boring and unentertaining way? Or the, Nekoshi can a happy man by sing damnable kid's way? The blonde Genin froze where he stood unable to fight off the oncoming waves of massive intent. Nekoshi, Kitsune hissed in a warning tone. The white-haired man grinned widely before withdrawing his cycle. Relax, relax. I just wanted to show him my blades. You're alright, sport, he said with a playful knock to Naruto's jaw. Wait, what? Okay, hold on. I don't have the slightest idea what you're talking about or anything. Nekoshi and Kitsune, was it? He questioned, gaining a affirming nod from the two. Right, well, I hate to burst your bubble, but I'm not going anywhere with you until you tell me what you know and how in the flying hell you know it. At this, Kitsune smiled teasingly. Ooh, we've got a tough guy on our hands, Nekoshi, she hissed. The black-eyed man smiled before placing a hand upon one of his cycles. I guess I'll be able to use these after all. I'm sure Sensei wouldn't if he was missing a few limbs, he said before licking his lips and smiling evilly. Naruto flinched back with widened eyes. What the hell did he just say? He inwardly freaked out. Nekoshi lifted his S-cycle overhead. Now, hold perfectly still, and you may instantaneously lose consciousness, he said with a small laughter afterwards. Out of, impeccably hot flashback continuation out of. You have been warned. Sakura Haruno was frantically trying to walk off the stress that she recently acquired before she exited the hospital. She walked all over the village as far as she could tell, but she was too frenzied to tell. She was freaking out. Her mindless insanity drive eventually led her to a very nostalgic place at the academy grounds. When she finally stopped her walk to grasp her surroundings, the pink-haired kunoichi felt that very nostalgia creep into her system. She stood upon a hill, the very same hill that she claimed her first crush upon, her and Naruto's special place. She could still remember the euphoria that coursed through her body that day when Naruto planted his lips upon her forehead for the first time. She could vividly remember him when he was little, greeting her with nothing but his best and brightest smile that seemed to have no limit to its radiance. Sakura-chan. Sakura-chan, she could remember how cute he sounded when he called her that. Because of the events and memories that occurred over the last few weeks, Sakura realized that sometimes life is too short to have regrets, and that's why she has finally been able to let go of the horrible transgression that happened between Naruto and herself. Only problem was that every time an old problem a new one reared its ugly head and laughed at her. Sakura's memories were immediately refocused onto earlier events, thus driving her to her previous state of near insanity. My god, what am I gonna do? He's confused. What the hell does he mean by that? Does that mean he doesn't love me anymore or what? She yelled while she relished her frantic pace around the tree of the hill. God damn you, Ino, you cream puff whore. What have you done to my Naruto to make him say that? He never would have had any doubts if you didn't slut your way onto his lap. I hate you. Eventually, through all of her hateful rants and insecant pacing, Sakura finally wore herself out and collapsed her back against a tree, thus sliding to the ground to catch her breath. Damn it all to hell. What am I gonna do? I can't let this go on. I have to remind Naruto that I'm the one who loves him, not some blonde sea like Ino. But I don't know what I should do. I've been stomping and cursing up a storm trying to figure something out and I still have nothing, she conversed with herself. That's of course where inner Sakura finally decided to come out and play. Shanaro, you can't be serious. All of that pondering and you can't even figure out what you wanted to do from the start. Sakura raising her eyebrow without outwardly responding to her inner tenant. Evan't how Ino's a worthless bee that deserves the smackdown of a lifetime, she's already solved your dilemma. Again, Sakura says nothing. If you want to remind Naruto that you're his woman, then all you have to do is zooms off of the village. Sakura, www.haaaaaatt. Zooms back in. The jade-eyed female slapped both of her hands over mouth before deciding to continue this so-called conversation a little more discreetly. Out of. I am so not gonna F him. Oh come off it. We both know that you wanna shag him good. Have you seen the way you looked at him lately? You so want his forbidden goose. You are USAI. Look, I love Naruto, we both know that, but stooping down to Ino's slutty level is JSUT plain, not right. Hello. This is you're talking to here. Do you really think that I buy that load of crap? Stop being AL and take what you want, already. The opportunity's right thing here, so take it already. I don't want to F Naruto, okay. Sure. I've thought about what it would be like a few times but. Oh my god. Ha, I knew it, you little slut. I'm not a slut. So what if I thought about it? It doesn't mean I should. And just why not? Quote, because, well, it's just that. It's not right, okay. Aha, him shoving his tasty C into your little virgin natch isn't right. Explain yourself. Oh, stop being such a prude and admit. After overhearing Naruto and Yoshana talk, you want nothing more than to give him a piece of that. And no. Well, I don't know, go ahead and say it. I want him inside me, Kamoon. Say it. I want high. Gragh. This is ridiculous. This conversation is over. Not until you say how much you want him to take you right now and show him that you're 80 times the woman that Inobi is. Okay, the last part we can agree on, but I'm not going to violate Naruto. Yep. Keep denying it because one way or another, we're gonna F him sensele. Did you just say ridiculous? What? You did, didn't you? Shush, shut up. I knew it. Now stop wasting time and find his hot ass. Out of. Back in the waking world, Sakura reflexively bashed the back of her head against the tree that she rested on in an attempt to foil inner Sakura's temptations. She growled to herself at letting the conversation go so far because now her mind was swirling around those Deetsley thoughts. It's just one problem after Anath. Gasp. When all of Sakura's senses were resendaled, she squirmed at the feeling that she wished she had more control over at that time. Wetness. With all of the carnage that was roaring within her head, Sakura's body became hot and wet before she knew it. She quickly tightened her legs and blushed deeply as she tried desperately to contain her troublesome urges. Kuso. She cursed repeatedly as she tried to redirect her mind elsewhere in order to rid herself of the oncoming wetness that she was suffering through. Redirecting her thoughts away from something that she knew wasn't appropriate wasn't so hard, but her body was another story. Sakura breathed shallowly as her eyes fell blank and her blush remained as radiant as ever. Stop acting up, she cursed as she clamped down upon her C with her hand, unwittingly parting her legs. Damn body. Sometimes I just think you're out to get me. Sakura began to roughly trail her fingers along the S of her tight natch through her black shorts. She could feel every bit of oncoming wetness and it was driving her to intensify her actions. Naruto, she huffed before she closed her eyes and rested her head back upon the tree, I need you here, damn it. However, it was around the time that Sakura began pulling off her shorts that she realized what she was doing and immediately stopped. Her eyes flipped open and she remembered that she was on academy grounds. Feeling very, very dirty at that moment, the heated Kunoichi opted to return to her home and relieve her tension there. But, if the constant streams of unfortunate events were any indication, that was only a fool's dream. As things were about to get even more complicated. Sakura-chan, came the last voice that she wanted to hear at that time, what are you doing? At this, the jade-eyed Genin nearly jumped out of her skin when she heard that voice. Not because it was there, but because of the fact that her hand was still caressing the forbidden area when he showed up. As quick as lightning, Sakura retracted her naughty hand and flashed Naruto a nervous smile. Naruto. Well, what a surprise. What brings you to this end of the woods? She said in a frantic manner while trying to keep her already dwindling composure futile. The blonde boy took a hard whiff of the air before answering her question. Well, at first, I was looking for someone, but then I caught this scent and I don't know what it is, he said. At first, Sakura was a little curious as to what he meant by looking for someone and inwardly prayed that it wasn't Ino for whatever reason, but then she became a little curious about the smell he was talking about. What the hell is it? It smells so good, he said as he continued his whiffs of the tainted air. What does it smell like? Sakura asked while unconsciously closing her legs tight. Naruto began to scout the familiar area in search of the source. I don't know. It isn't like anything I've ever smelled before. It smells kinda salty and I know it's coming from over here, he said. At this, Sakura immediately flushed a deeper shade of red and began to sweat like hell. Oh, is that so? Well, I certainly don't smell anything. Hey, how about this? I'll go search over there and you can stay right where you are until you find something, she suggested. To her instant disappointment, Naruto shook his head. I already looked there. I already looked everywhere but here and this is where it's the strongest, he explained while taking more whiffs of the strangely addicting scent. Oh, was all she could say to respond before she quickly rose to her feet. Well, good luck with that one, Naruto. I'll see you lat. Are you alright? She asked with a questioning stare. Naruto was starting to act very strangely. With each whiff he seemed to become more and more breathless little by little. But what was most strange was the fact that he was now on his hands and knees, sniffing the area where Sakura was sitting. It smells so good. I have to find it, he said persistently. It didn't even seem like he realized what he was doing at the time. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.